Greetings CNN tinfoil hats. Mathis is pushing the trilateral agenda of hitting China after Iran, North Korea and Petraeus and McMaster's armed ISIS.
You know, the idea that they're arming these guys as a proxy army destabilizes the world, okay?
Starving children out of Yemen.
War-ravaged Yemen has been pushed closer to total famine. It describes the humanitarian situation in the country as the worst on the planet. An estimated 17 million people, more than half of the population, have no reliable access to food, and almost 7 million are said to be one step away from starvation. The personal stories of some Yemenis were also featured in the report.
My youngest son is sick. I went to the hospital and they told me he was suffering from malnutrition. I'm afraid my son will die, and I would blame myself for that. I was even thinking of selling one of my kidneys before I received some humanitarian aid.
We've been living in hunger since the beginning, and now we cannot even buy as much food as before. For a year, I had to carry water in jerry cans 5 times a day.
Amid the ongoing catastrophe in Yemen, the international reaction has been mixed. Amnesty International says while the US and UK have provided around $450 million worth of aid to Yemen, they've actually made around $5 billion worth of weapons sales to Saudi Arabia.
He worked for the bullshit PR US Central Command, where they infect foreign media with lies and hit social accounts, as well as lying to the US about the war, to which 50 soldiers have come forth calling bullshit. Those are Cosby and Hillary numbers. So how is that war going?
You know, whenever you're exposed to advertising in this country, you realize all over again that America's leading industry is still the manufacture, distribution, packaging, and marketing of bullshit.
McMaster's is also a CENTCOM and is proposing 150,000 more to Afghanistan,
which we will call Operation Human Shield. Hey, wait a minute! Now keep in mind, Operation Human Shield will suffer heavy loss.
He was put in by national leaking Petraeus through KKR, his investment company, who made a bullshit campaign about friction with globalists, but the globalists like KT McFarland are staying along with all the Obama security leaks thanks to McMaster's. He is Petraeus, who trades national secrets for sex. Little sock puppet.
As he worked out the counterinsurgency approach to Iraq when he commanded the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment in Tel Afar, long before the more noticed work on the counterinsurgency manual led by General Petraeus.
It was McMaster's plan to arm ISIS. Meanwhile, Lockheed Martin is making half of its weapons for foreign countries. Bribing foreign officials with $22 million and fueling Saudi Arabia's torture of Yemen children. But Lockheed Martin CEO Marilyn Hewson is breaking the glass ceiling.
I hate that bitch.
By firing 2,400 to double her salary, giving her $40 million a year. Consequently, Trump put her on the board of US manufacturing jobs. Lockheed makes shit equipment as your #1 tax recipient, causing many crashes, notably 250 killed, often being transported, which puts a lot of pressure on Lockheed Martin's Skunk works. Ben Rich, former president who brought stealth technology, has made allusions to reverse engineering from alien spacecraft, which could be psyops to discredit researchers. Today's Skunk works is scary. Aside from making hybrid drone airships to replace truckers, Skunk Works has made cold fusion reaction AI drones with no remotes.
Generation of airplanes that doesn't rely on fuel, it can just stay aloft, unlimited range, unlimited endurance. That's what nuclear fusion can do for an airplane.
These no-pilot drones learn.
And if we can embed capabilities for those aircraft to actually learn from what they're experiencing from one mission to another, we can enrich how those aircraft can operate and how efficiently they can operate as time goes on.
Traveling from 6 to 20 times the speed of sound, these aircraft were designed to destroy China.
It's that those programs started 10, 20, 30 years ago. And it's only now that we're able to start talking about it. So if you fast forward a little bit, just imagine what we're working on right now.
This capacity gets scarier when Master Sergeant Michael T. Rich of Rand Corporation has invented Skynet.
Down. It's like nothing that we've ever seen before. It keeps growing and changing, like it has a mind of its own. This can't be happening.
Geeks know AI needs human rewards because it cheats. He took them off so computers could determine threat levels on their own. The Rand Corporation disregarded obvious game theory of savvy corporation to that of self-interest, reducing humans to consumers and cattle. They also have employees saying they started from reptilians working with the Nazis, which is likely psyop. But they had spy satellites that could count Russian fruit in orchards in the 50s and has internet way before the Pentagon discovered ARPANET. They also introduced nuclear-capable ICBMs.
And the payload is then in free ballistic flight to the target at some 15,000 miles per hour. Thus, the ballistic missile is a long-range weapon operating at tremendous speed, a weapon capable of delivering a devastating nuclear payload in half an hour to practically any place in the world.
Their game theory suggested global nuclear war with 10 million surviving Americans as a win, and Oliver Stone borrowed so much from Khan, the leader for Dr. Strangelove of the Bland Corporation, that Mr. Khan asked for royalties. Another Rand leader, Graham T. Allison, invented academic psyops at Harvard.
An important new book. Destined for War. There's no question mark after it, although I guess there is a question mark about can America and China escape Thucydides' trap. It's truly a very, very timely and very significant work on the most important relationship in the world, and that is the one between the United States, the established power, as he describes in his taxonomy of such situations, in China, the rising power, and a brilliant discussion of the factors and the scenarios that might actually lead to war between our two countries.
He is doing such a good job presenting the academic reasons for invading China that he was asked to replace Rockefeller at the Council on Foreign Relations. Meanwhile, his Belford Science and International Affairs Center in Harvard, started by an oil corporation, he himself an oil baron, rates countries on the hit or befriend list in order of oil first, other wealth next, as they plan war. And surveilling the shit out of us with Skynet AI. This ugly bastard works with him. Also, VP on Council on Foreign Relations gave the Iranians the Tehran reactor through Argentina so he could say, look out, they have nuclear capability. They're nowhere near a bomb, but he continues to fearmonger.
Called Sneak Out. It's building a secret facility so that Iran could produce weapons-grade uranium without anybody knowing about it, and then fabricate and assemble nuclear weapons.
And campaigns like sending Iranian malware which was not contained and otherwise trolling them.
Furthermore, because the Iranian government is much more sensitive to pressure from public discontent with the hardships caused by economic sanctions,
and can't keep a shit-eating grin from his face when talking about engaging North Korea.
You know, the North Korean regime is a truly hateful regime. I mean, if I could, somehow orchestrate regime change, I wouldn't hesitate 1 minute.
His David Rockefeller Fund sends Ivy brats on vacation, winning them over. So, they don't think he's the prick he is.
Times, Time Magazine, and other publications whose directors have attended our meetings and restricted their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subject to the bright lights of publicity. But the world is now more sophisticated and prepared to march toward a world government.
They don't clarify funding, but it's mostly tax dollars. Then they are brought into Rockwellian evil.
Both the 1994 Miami Summit and the FTAA proposal were conceived and nurtured by a Rockefeller-created network.
Sure, they've sent doctors to foreign study. But past Rockefeller medical programs have included sucking blood from the young to buy into the old. David Rockefeller lived to be 101. Note Kissinger, Zbrinsky and more familiar Cheney had the 7-country agenda ready at 9/11. And the port commissioner for the World Trade Center, and the funding for the building was Rockefeller. And where are all these people from?
We find that the Republican Party and the Democrat Party both are pretty much in the hands of a relatively small group of people, with a membership of about 4,000. It's called the Council on Foreign Relations.
It's currently directed by Richard Engels.
Here's CFR President Richard Haas talking with Bill Maher, and just look at this suspicious, crap-eating grin on his face after Maher just kind of lets the cat out of the bag.
Okay, so as we discussed last time, you are the president of the Council of Foreign Relations, which secretly controls the world, I believe.
They control media.
Agreement was reached. The policy of the papers was bought, and an editor was placed in each paper to ensure that all published information was in keeping with the new policy. Soon, that policy would be defined by a front group formed by J.P. Morgan and his colleagues. In fact, Morgan's personal attorney was founding president of the organization, the Council on Foreign Relations.
And all these organizations, including the CFR, continuously set up numerous subsidiary or front organizations that are infiltrated into every phase of the various nations' affairs.
Asshole Microsoft working with the NSA Council of Foreign Relations. And the CFR is building the case to hit China because there's gold there. Dig into our paste bin for more.
Honor, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
We will not forgive. We will not forget. Expect us.